While silver prices keep bouncing up and down like a lowrider on Saturday night in Los Angeles, the information around prices, inventories, and premiums seems to be conflicting. What we all can agree on is that silver, gold, and platinum are all the things we need to physically hold to protect our wealth at a minimum, and hopefully make a nice profit at best. At these price levels, there's no doubt that silver is a bargain, undervalued, and destined for a significant price increase. But when will this happen? That's what we're going to unpack. While calls for a recession started earlier this year, we also experienced a yield curve inversion between the 10-year and the 2-year bonds. Even though the yield curve has predicted the last 7 recessions, it's not a 100% correlation. But recently, the latest statistical projections showed a 100% probability of a recession within the next 12 months as the economy contends with decades-high inflation, Federal Reserve interest rate hikes, and mounting geopolitical tensions. The general consensus has been once the dollar weakens and the Fed stops hiking or signals a pause, or even better, begins to reverse its course, silver and other metals will take off. Well, as Lee Corso said, not so fast, my friend. You see, there's good news, bad news, and some opportunities depending on your perspective. Let's start with eating our veggies so that we can enjoy our dessert later. 1. We have to remind ourselves that not all recessions are the same. In some real ways, we are in uncharted territory, meaning any projections or predictions are simply just that. Anyone who tells you that they know for sure what's going to happen in the short term is blowing smoke up somewhere, and trust me, it doesn't tickle when they do it. In the 2008 recession, the economic problems were different in terms of real estate market bubble, fueled by terrible loans and incredibly elevated home prices. While we still have the price issue today, the home loan industry is in a very different place. 2008 was also about other bad debts and a lot of supply buildup, as opposed to today, which is more about generations of ridiculously low interest rates, excessive money printing, supply chain issues, and a war that seems to be dividing the world into regions. Which leads me to point number 2, supply and demand. Recently, there's been a lot of conversation about high consumer demand for silver and low supply, which has led a number of people to speculate why the price of silver hasn't risen in response. Of course, many people have gone straight to the low-hanging fruit of price manipulation by banks. And while I can negate that perspective, what I can do is show you this chart, which I put together based on the numbers from the Silver Institute. I have to tell you, these results made me scratch my head and frankly reinforced my bias that I just don't trust silver a ton. I don't trust it to perform like the other metals. In this chart, I plotted silver demand in blue and price in orange over the last 10 years. What stands out to me like a turd in a punch bowl is that you don't see the typical increase in demand resulting in an increase in price. It's almost the opposite. Then I realized, you big dummy, what about supply or surplus? And I found this chart from Sprott. And again, we only see what I can describe as weird behavior. So I'm just perplexed by silver and its response to the market. Either I'm missing something or I need to leave it to someone much smarter than me to figure out exactly what's going on. But what was interesting and encouraging was point number 3, manufacturing and industrial demand. From where I sit, silver and platinum faces challenge as metals that are overwhelmingly used in industry. By definition, a recession is marked by 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP. It is a decline in economic activity coupled with increases in unemployment, lower incomes, falling retail sales, and reduction in manufacturing for a period of time. While I could not locate the chart I wanted, the data shows that about a 0.8 correlation with lower or flat silver prices and low manufacturing outputs. In fact, when manufacturing is above 5%, the price of silver increases 80% of the time. This becomes a very critical piece of data to watch along with point number 4. Before we get to point number 4, if you're receiving value, if you learned anything, you love stacking, want to reward my effort in putting this information together, or simply enjoy the oh so sweet sound of my voice, would you please hit the like button for me? If for nothing else, I can then give my daughter a positive answer when she says, "Daddy, how many likes did you get?" Thank you very much. Point number 4. Role as a monetary metal. Given the economic backdrop and fears, I believe silver is likely to benefit from its historic role as a monetary metal as investors seek safety and protection. The unanswerable question is, how much of a boost could we really expect? As I shared, potential is a French word for you ain't done squat yet. Silver's potential is exciting because of its role as a monetary metal may be able to keep the price afloat during this recession, and that could serve as a new floor for silver at the same time as manufacturing picks up. This 1-2 punch isn't enough for me to say that silver is going to the moon, but I could make a case for a $45, $50 silver as the new floor with a spike as high as $75 to $80 an ounce. Before we get too excited, we also have to remember gold typically leads this charge. And once gold takes off, silver tends to come behind it. And so that becomes a critical point for us to monitor. Silver only tends to lead the charge in situations of sharp price drops like in 2020. This is critical because, as point number 5 highlights, silver's historic performance. Well, this is where it gets a little ugly, silver bugs and silver lovers. When you look at this chart of stock market crashes and gold and silver prices, you see what we already know, but seeing it makes it feel oh so different. Silver simply gets beat down during stock market crashes, far more than gold. So you want to know why in 2021 I switched almost exclusively to gold? Look at this chart. You want to understand why I was willing to swap 270 ounces of silver for 3¼ ounces of gold? Look at this chart. The numbers just don't lie. Now, they may not tell the full story, but they ain't lying either. Only 2 out of the last 9 times has silver had a positive gain during a market crash. Remember rule number 1 of investing: don't lose money. Before my silver lovers get too mad at me, the full story and a bit of good news is that the silver prices tend to rebound hard when the economy turns, as this chart shows. Pause the video and really take a moment to see how silver has performed right before, towards the middle, and coming out of a recession. Silver plays catch up extremely well, but it also falls a lot further. But I also have to show you this chart of silver and gold, and you can see how prices have continued to separate over time, or how the GSR has increased. This final chart shows you that since 1972, how different the performance between the two metals have been. Like in the kitchen, you get to be your own chef. Here, you get to be your own investor, and you have to make your own decisions. I'm going to tell you what most creators won't tell you. I don't feel really great about silver price in the short term going into a recession. Based on the charts and my super cloudy crystal ball, I almost expect a good sized run up and then a significant pullback once we realize we're in a recession. As another caution, we have to remember that a lot of new as well as old time stackers or stacking investors, meaning people who think like me, purchased a lot of silver in this $17 to $20 range, which means they may not be as committed to waiting for a moonshot and may be very happy to double their money and walk away in the $35 to $45 range, which could also move the market given the market size. And this is especially likely to happen if there's ever a need for funds or liquidity. That said, I do believe silver will perform very well if your timeline is a little further out. I don't believe a moonshot is coming, but you should expect solid performance like what we've seen historically coming out of recessions. And I could even see silver reaching $75 to $80, but I don't know if that's until like 2024. It's important for me to note that these points that I shared are some of the main key indicators that we have to watch. And as the data and information changes or becomes more readily available, your responsibility shifts to interpreting that data and adjusting your strategy. We still have inflation, we still have interest rates, and a supercharged dollar to account for. But no matter what, Stackers University will be here to help you and assist you along the way. But this is a critical skill you have to develop to be a successful investor that is capable of making their own decisions and owning their own results. In the comment section, which indicator do you believe is the most important to watch? Did I miss a key indicator? What are your thoughts about silver in a recession and its performance? Will this change your stacking approach based on what I shared? If you're hearing this, in addition to being an A+ student, make sure you tell your significant other or your LCS that Dr. Stacker said you earn some extra metal with your next purchase. Always stack smarter and never stop learning.